Grab your drinks and have a seat. It's time for serial killers.
Hello.
Hello.
We are here.
That we are.
I'm T.
And I'm Jay.
And we are here to talk to you about
Serial
killers.
And I tried to match you because, we're moving into a new part of our life.
No, you tried to match me because I give you shit about it all the time.
No, because we're moving into a new part of our life. We sold our house. We're, moving on. It's going to get crazy.
We did. We sold our house. For those of you who have been listening for a while, you know that we've been trying to get ready to move. We sold our house. We close on it. Actually, by the time you hear this, we will have already closed.
Yes, ma'am.
And we are moved in to our new home, which is our trailer, our travel trailer.
Yes, it is. And it's not the biggest trailer, so it's not like a fifth wheel.
I love it.
It's not bad.
It's
good for us two and our dog.
I love it. I actually love it because I feel like I'm camping every day, and I do like camping. But right now it's a little chaotic because we moved out of our house and we moved in, actually, for those of you who listen to both Fatal Blend and Crime Bitches, we moved in with our daughter. And she happens to live with my parents.
Yeah, we're back.
My parents don't live here. My parents travel the world, but she's basically taking care of their home. And so we moved in with our trailer on their property. And then my parents are also going to be here in a couple months. And we're all going to have a big old
slumber party.
We're going to have a big party for a month. And then we will move. We will actually be moving.
And when she says they travel the world, she
I meant
means
the
the
United
US.
States, but whatever. And we are happy to report that, fingers crossed, we may have actually found a house that we might be able to get into. And if we do get into that house, we will have a very nice podcasting room.
Mm-hmm. No more echo.
There might be a little bit of an echo, but we'll be
we
putting
will
stuff
put
on
stuff
the walls.
up to make there no echo.
Command strips, here we come. Because it's a rental, so
yep,
you
no
can't
holes.
No holes. So
no
holes. But we'll definitely be putting stuff up that will make it to where the echo will not be there.
And here's what I think is a funny part to it, because when I went and toured it today, there is a police officer that lives next door, and beknownst to him, there will be a serial killer and true crime podcast happening right next door.
I am not a person. I don't like people. I keep to myself. But you know what? You
might need to talk to him.
If he's got some stories, I'll gladly sit and listen. But
see if we can get the inside scoop.
However, the area we're living in, I just can't see it being that bad of a place that they're going to have any crazy stories. But maybe he came from a bigger city where there might be more crazy stories.
Well, and I didn't see on his police car, he may be a police officer to one of the neighboring cities, which are a little bit bigger.
Yeah, we'll see.
So.
But anyway, so that's where we're at. But let's jump this bad boy off like we always do. What are you drinking, Jay?
I am drinking my vanilla sweet cream coffee, sweet vanilla coffee, coffee pod, with my vanilla Chobani creamer.
A vanilla kind of guy.
I'm vanilla.
You're not vanilla, but nice try. So Jay is not vanilla. Don't even think for 1 second.
I'm totally vanilla.
So that's actually a good choice.
I wear Crocs with socks. I'm vanilla.
Disgusting. Crocs, disgusting. Crocs with socks, even more disgusting. Sandals with socks is just gross and atrocious. So,
but toes are gross and atrocious.
But they belong in sandals.
But they don't belong in my eyesight.
Well, they belong in sandals, and that's just sandals need. I mean, hello, you let the dogs out when you're wearing sandals. That's the point.
Some
of a
people
sandal.
need to keep their dogs.
No, they don't.
Locked away.
No, you need to just avert your eyes. Anyways, we live in a free world. Avert your eyes. So I'm drinking some iced tea. I have nothing special in it because I don't do anything special. So just some iced tea. Because you know why? It was motherfucking 90 degrees here today.
That it was.
So it's just too damn hot. And by the way, we live in the Pacific Northwest. So for those of you who live in Texas, We know 90 degrees is not shit for you.
Yeah, you guys are like,
But
ooh, 90 degrees.
we live somewhere that, let me just lay this out for you. It was literally like 70 degrees yesterday, and it's like 90 today.
And then it's going to go back
And
to
then it's
being
going to go back to like
70 degrees.
So when it's like a one-off day, it's the worst damn day of your life because it's just too hot. And it's so hot that our dogs went outside and couldn't even hang. They wanted to come back in.
They went outside for a little bit, and then they
said, this is too hot. You need to let us
We're going
back
back
in.
inside.
So anyways, that's where we're at. That's what we're doing. And now we can get into what we want to talk about.
Which is?
Serial killers.
Yeah, but who?
Okay, so here's the thing. There's a little bit of, I would say there's a misconception on the one we're going to do today.
Ooh, I like misconceptions.
So we are talking about a man named Joseph Kallinger. But here's the thing. In my serial killer book, it was labeled as Joseph and Michael Kallinger. I decided to take Michael's name out of it because I don't know.
You don't know why, or you just
No,
don't?
I don't know if I would classify him truly as a serial killer.
Okay.
And so for you to you just got to listen. You just got to listen for you to understand. And I mean, I fully started doing this research as in like, oh yeah, a duo serial killer couple, not couple, but a duo serial killers. But then as I started doing the research, I was like, yeah, that doesn't really fit the bill. So I'm not calling out the guy who wrote the serial killer book. I understand why Michael is the serial killer as well. But just hang with me and maybe you will have a different view as well.
Let's hear it.
So we're going to talk about this as if we're talking about Joseph, because a lot of it is in singular person.
Okay.
So Joseph is nicknamed the Shoemaker.
Damn it. Giving people a bad name.
For those of you who don't know, are you okay if we share this?
That's fine.
Okay. For those of you who don't know, Jay is not, I mean, would you classify yourself as a shoemaker?
Yeah, I am a shoemaker.
So he's a shoemaker who has worked for some major shoe companies since he was fucking 23 years old. And he's an expert shoemaker, basically is what Jay does for a job. And so when I saw this, I giggled really hard and I was like, oh my God, we're doing a Jay specialty. But you'll find out why he's called the Shoemaker. It actually doesn't have anything to do with his murders, but it's funny that that's his nickname. He has 3 victims. The murder dates are 1974 to 75. The location of murders is Pennsylvania and New Jersey. His method of murder is stabbing and drowning. And his characteristics are he's a serial rapist.
Ew.
So Joseph Kallinger was born December 11th, 1935, and he was born to Joseph Lee Brunner III and Judith. Now, his father leaves the home in 1937, so he's like 2 years old, and his father leaves the home. And due to this, Joseph ends up in the foster care system,
Yeah.
as they all fucking do.
Yep.
Now, on October 5th of 1939, so this is 2 years after he's been put into foster care, an Austrian immigrant family of a couple, I guess, of Stephen and Anna Kallinger, they adopt Joseph. To be fair, as most people would be like, oh my God, that's amazing. Yee. Right?
I'm guessing they weren't good people.
However, this is not a joyous adoption, as one would hope. This is not something that you'd be like, oh, yay. And this is because he is actually abused by both of the parents. So severely abused that he actually develops a hernia at the age of 6 years old.
Damn.
Now, again, you have to remember, he was literally adopted when he was 4 years old. So 2 years after being adopted, he has a hernia that is developed from abuse. Some of the punishments that he had to suffer were making him kneel on sharp rocks, locking him in closets, making him eat his own feces, burning him with irons, whipping him with belts, starvation, and forcing him to self-injure himself. So not like, oh, they were so mean to me. Like severe hardcore abuse. At that point, I have to question, why the fuck did you adopt?
Right.
Like, what was your reason for adopting a child? If that's...
I've brought this up before. I feel like some people adopt because it's a paycheck.
Not adoption, though. Foster care.
Oh, no, I guess, yeah, foster care.
Yeah, adoption, you're choosing, right? When you adopt a child, you're choosing to basically take this child in as your own and love them and treat them respectfully for the rest of their life. So if your whole entire goal was just to abuse this shit out of them, why adopt?
Yeah.
I don't understand. I mean, you're just terrible people at that point. Now, at the age of 9, he is also sexually assaulted by a group of boys in his own neighborhood. So he's had a very rough start to life. During his school years, he also would often rebel against what the teacher said. Like he would purposely not listen to the teachers. He would purposely not do what they were saying. And if they told him something, then he would go opposite of it. It's like he had opposites day, like every day at school. Now, at the age of 15 years old, he begins to date a girl named Hilda Bergman. And Hilda and him, they start a sexual relationship. They're 15 years old. Now, his parents are like, no, we don't want you to have a girlfriend. We don't want you together. We don't want you in a sexual relationship. And so he's kind of like, you know what? Fuck you, mom and dad. And he rebels against his parents by marrying her. And I'm assuming that...
That'll teach him.
Well, and I'm sure he didn't marry her at 15, but I'm sure they stayed together enough, you know, for them to be like 18 and get married. Now, these two, they do go on. They do have 2 children. And Joseph was an extremely violent person, specifically to Hilda, to the point where she ends up leaving Joseph. Like she leaves him, she takes the kids, she's out. Now, on April 20th of 1958, he remarries. And with this woman that he remarries, I don't have her name, and I did not search that hard for it because I feel like if you're not in the basic research, you probably don't want to be found. And I'm okay with that because this story's not about you. This woman goes on to have 5 children with him.
Damn. Okay,
so he has a
he's got
total
7.
of 7 children. Now, he is again extremely abusive towards his wife and towards his children. Oftentimes, he would replicate the types of abuse that he had endured during his childhood, which is to be expected.
Mm-hmm.
So he would use the same types of punishments that he had done, that he had been given as a child to his own children. Now, Joseph does spend time on multiple occasions in and out of mental institutions. And this was for a variety of reasons, including things like suicide attempts, arsons, and amnesia at some point. In 1972, Joseph's children end up going to the police, a few of his 5 children. They go to the police and they basically tell the police how they have been treated by their father at home. And they tell him, like, our father abuses us. These are the things that he does. And Joseph is very quickly arrested and he is sent to prison for abuse of his children. Now, while he's in prison, he is actually diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. And it is recommended that he is allowed to have supervised visits while he's in prison with his family. So they say, like, yes, he might be abusive. Yes, he has a mental health issue, but also it would be good if he could have supervised visits with his family. Now, later, his family ends up recanting their allegations against him, and he gets out of prison and life goes on. Then in 1974, one of his children, Joseph Jr., is found dead in an abandoned construction building. And 2 weeks prior to Joseph dying, Joseph Sr. had actually taken out life insurance policies on all of his sons. Now, he claimed that his son Joseph Jr. had run away from home, and the insurance company was like, I don't think so. This doesn't seem legit. This doesn't seem right. So they refused to pay out insurance, his insurance claim on Joseph Jr. Now, in November of 1974, this begins his crime spree, if you will call it that, because I know we don't normally call serial killers crime spree killers. However, he literally has a crime spree that he happens to kill while he's on it. He's not your typical I'm going to search and destroy serial killer. He's more of he was doing things and killed people in the moment, which is why there's 3 victims, but he's a serial rapist. Now, here's the thing. This is where Michael comes in. So he goes on a crime spree and he involves his 12-year-old son, Michael. Michael is 12, first of all. Let's start there. And let's also finish that by saying, prior to this, I have no knowledge of what Michael was doing with his life, but I would assume that if Michael was in trouble with, the law, it would have been stated in the history and in the articles that Michael was heavily involved with the law. That is, none of those things have been at all. So I'm assuming that Michael was as we know, an abuse victim of his father, and he just was going along with what his father said, probably out of fear. So I'm not giving an excuse, but I'm explaining to you, this is the first part of why I say, I don't know if I classify him as a serial killer. because he went along with his father. I don't actually know how many people were killed at the hands of Michael. So I don't know why he would be the serial killer. And here's why. I'll tell you. This involves, so their crime spree actually involves Philadelphia, Baltimore, and New Jersey. So over a 6-week period, they rob, assault, and sexually abuse 4 different families. So they show up at these homes of these families. They pretend to be salesmen. And then once they enter the homes, they would assault the family members and then they would rob them. During these times, Joseph was supposedly experiencing constant hallucinations, and he claimed that he was having conversations with a disembodied head. He also claimed that he was being given these personal orders from God himself, and these instructions sometimes would include killing young boys and cutting off their genitals. These are the things that he said that he was being told while he was doing these crime sprees. Now, he did tell his son Michael about the conversations that he was having with the disembodied heads and the ones from God. And he would say, like, we have to do this because God is telling us to do this. And you've got to remember that Michael is like 12, turning 13 years old during this time. And he's already been heavily abused by his father. Like, what's he going to do? Right. So he's kind of like, okay. And I want to make it clear, in no way, shape, or form did I ever see anything, because I guess I should correct what I said, because I said that they would rob, assault, and sexually abuse the people. It wasn't they. They would get into the home. Joseph would sexually assault the members, rape the members of the family. Michael did not rape any of the people. And Michael might have, my guess is Michael probably assaulted, but again, he's 12 or sometimes 13, depending on the year. And he may have robbed them, but he wasn't doing the sexual assault stuff. So by the time that Michael is 13, he has now been on some crime sprees with his dad. And his dad is basically telling him, like, listen, I'm being told by God that I need to kill some people. I need to kill some young boys. I need to cut off their genitals. I have to do this. God is telling me. And Michael, I need you to help me with it. You have to help me. And of course, Michael is 13 years old, probably like, okay. Like, your dad's abusive. You say no, what's probably going to happen? I don't know. He might beat the shit out of you, or maybe you'll be the one he kills. I don't know. Maybe he's scared, or maybe Michael is a sick individual that also has these urges. It just doesn't strike me as that way from all the research I've done. And so Michael does agree to help his father. So 11 days after Joseph asks Michael to help him with this task that God has sent him to do, a Puerto Rican young boy was tortured by Joseph and Michael. And he had also been mutilated in the areas that God told him to. Now, after this happens, Joseph's sights of who he's going to murder changes. And he decides the next person he wants to kill is Joseph Jr., his own son, the one who was found in the building that had died. Now, at first, he actually tried to get Joseph Jr. to fall off of a cliff while he was taking his picture. Like, he literally brought him somewhere.
Like, go back up a little more.
Yeah,
a little more,
to take a picture and tries to get him to fall off a cliff. This fails, and he doesn't fall. So then he takes another opportunity where he takes Joseph Jr. and Michael with him, and he tells them, we're going to go light this building on fire, because he likes arson. And so he's like, we're going to light this building on fire, boys. And so he lights the building on fire and leaves, takes Michael and leaves, hoping that Joseph Jr. is going to die in this fire. Again, this fails. So Joseph Jr. makes it out alive. The two of them, so Joseph and Michael, do end up drowning Joseph Jr. at the same construction site that his body was found. And then the body, of course, is found in August of 1974. And Joseph is actually suspected of having something to do with his son's death. However, there is not enough evidence, so no charges can be brought against him. But they already kind of had like again, going to taking insurance out on your sons anyways is weird. And then going and asking for insurance money not too long after your son ends up dead. I don't understand the whole profit off your child's death thing. That's strange to me.
He probably wasn't really heartbroken.
Yeah, I don't think that was, it was. And by the way, I could not tell you how old Joseph Jr. is because there's nothing about it. So I don't know if he was older or younger than Michael. So I don't know. However, I'm pretty sure that Joseph Jr. Joseph Jr. is one of the 3 children that went to the police. about his father's abuse. So maybe that has something to do with it. Then on November 22nd of 1974, the two of them, so Joseph and Michael, they break into a house in Lindenwold, New Jersey, and they break in because they're going to rob the home. However, nobody's home at the time, and so they move on, which again, they may have taken some things, but they didn't assault anybody, they didn't hurt anybody, and they move on. They move on to another home, and they enter into the home of Joan Carty. Now, they tie up Joan to a bed, and Joseph sexually assaults her. See what I mean? Michael didn't do any of those things.
Yeah,
he was there
just
to
an
help.
accomplice.
He was an accomplice in a lot of ways. Yeah. Then on December 3rd, 1974, Joseph and Michael, they rob 5 people at knife point. Now, while they're holding these people hostage, so they go into this area, this home, I'm assuming, and there's 5 people there. They hold them all hostage. They do end up slashing one of them in like the breast area, but they don't kill, that person doesn't die. And they do get away with $20,000 in jewelry and cash from this home. Now, following this, they then gain entrance into the home of Pamela Jaski, and they hold her hostage as well. And Joseph sexually assaults her as well. So this is why I'm saying he's not your typical serial killer, because he has now approached 17 people that he could have killed at any time, and he has not killed any of them. He has literally killed a young Puerto Rican boy and his own son. He has not killed anybody that he's come across as far as robbing them. He's more of a serial rapist in my opinion, than a serial killer. That's my personal thought. He is a serial killer by definition. But again, as far as the little boy, the young boy, I don't know if Michael had anything to do with the death. My assumption is that Michael was used to lure that Puerto Rican boy to hang out with him. And as far as Joseph goes, it says that he helped drown him, which could be, but also could not. I mean, he's 13 years old. If Joseph is older than him, I don't know how much he actually helped. So that's what I'm saying. I can't 100% put 3 murders on Michael. I can on Joseph. I just can't on Michael. January 6th, 1975, they then gain entrance into the home of Mary Rudolph. And again, they're going to these homes, knocking on the doors, and these people are answering the doors. And Joseph is claiming to be a salesperson, and Michael is just I'm assuming because Michael's 13, and everybody who has had interactions with him would say it's a man with a young boy. I'm sure he was oh, this is my son. I don't think he lied about that. That was just a way to honestly gain trust.
The ropes
and it's a way to gain trust. Yeah. You have a guy show up at your door that's a salesman, and he's like, oh, I'm just here. Oh, I had to bring my son with me to work today. And you're like, oh my God, what a great guy. So it's these are the stories that make me never answer my front door.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I never answer my front door. Anyways, they gain entrance into the home of Mary Rudolph on January 6, 1975. And again, same thing happens to her. They tie her up, they rob her, and Joseph rapes her. Then on January 8th, 1975, 2 days later, Joseph and Michael continue their crime spree in Leonia, New Jersey. They are using a pistol at this point and a knife. So now both of them. So I'm assuming Michael has the knife. Joseph has a pistol. They enter into a home. And again, they posed as salesmen at the door. And that people actually in this scenario didn't want to let them inside. They thought it was a little weird.
Good.
But they kind of pushed their way inside because they had a pistol and a knife. And so Joseph holds the pistol on them and says, let me in your fucking house. Now, they tie up the 3 members that are in this house. So there's 3 members in this house. They tie them up. Well, then they're sitting there in this home because they hold them hostage for the whole day. All of their people. That's how Joseph was able to sexually assault them. Other members of this family start to come home to this house. And as they enter into the home, they are then forced to strip naked, and then they would bound them together with lamp cords and other types of appliance cords and put them in different rooms in the house. Police end up getting called to this home because a neighbor said that there was a woman outside of the home screaming, erratically crazy screaming. So when the police show up, they're like, oh, domestic disturbance.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they think. So they get there and they see this woman who is absolutely hysterical. And she is just screaming, not making much sense, but she's screaming guns and basement, and she's screaming. And the police approach her and they basically are like, ma'am. And she's like, my God, they're killing my family. And so she is then able to, through a lot of hysteria, which again, totally understand, she is able to tell them that 2 men had taken her entire family hostage and that they were inside the home.
How did she get out?
She said that she had been bound and she was able to wriggle free from the bindings. And when she wriggled free from the bindings, she ran out the door as fast as she could. Smart ass woman. Don't try to save nobody else. Just try to save the whole family by going to the going screaming outside. Good on you, lady. And actually, she did basically save the entire family. So after the police hear her say this, they're like, okay, we're going to go ahead and check out the home. So it's one policeman actually at this point who just showed up. So he goes into the home, and as he goes in the home, he sees the living room, which is the first place that he goes. And there is a woman who is bound by these cords, and she is crying. And the only thing that she could say as she's crying is upstairs. That's all she keeps telling them is upstairs. And so the police then go upstairs. And when they get upstairs, there's a bedroom. When they get into the bedroom, there are 3 people in this room, 2 women and a young boy. They are all naked and they are all bound and they are like shoved together. And they free, they talk to them. They free all of them. And by the way, while the police are searching through this home, every room they go into, they're fucking terrified because it's like, is there a murderer in there?
Right.
Right. Like based off what this lady said, somebody's in here just killing the whole entire family. Are we going to find dead bodies? Are we going to find a murderer? What are we doing here? And so every room they go into, they go in with caution, but they're also ready to protect themselves if they need to. And so after freeing them, the 2 women, because it was a young boy, the 2 women basically say that a man had come into their home and threatened them with a knife and a pistol and made them, get into the home. He then ties them up and they said he has a teenage boy with him. So they're telling like, this is the man. They then find out there's also people in the basement. So the police go down to the basement. They find a woman that is laying on the basement floor. She's in a white dress and she is completely covered in blood. And it is very clear she's not alive. And her throat has now been slashed, like she's dead. Now this is 21-year-old Maria Fashing. She is a nurse who had actually just come to the home to check on the family because they had been dealing with one of their family members who was currently in the hospital with a heart attack. They had had a heart attack. And actually, as the family was coming home, they were all coming home from the hospital. So Maria had come just to check on the family to see how they were coping with their family member's heart attack. And when she comes to the door, they make her come inside. Then they kill her. They slit her throat. She is killed, actually, because she refused to follow the orders of Joseph. Joseph had told her to do something extremely horrible, inappropriate, and wrong. And she said no. So he killed her. Now, as they're looking at this woman who's on the floor that is no longer alive, they also start hearing like a groaning sound. And it's coming from nearby. And they see that there's a man on the floor kind of over by the furnace. I'm going to be honest with you. When I was reading this, all I could think of is he's the killer.
No kidding.
Like all I could think of is he's the killer. She fucking probably like hurt him. He kills her and then he crawls over behind the furnace. Like, that's what I kept thinking. No, he's actually another victim. He's another victim. And his hands are also bound behind his back. His feet are bound together. His pants and his underwear are pulled down. So there is a total, if you're keeping count, there's 8 people in this house. 1 died. 7 of them lived. And that is all because of the woman who escaped.
Right.
Now, Michael was said to have yelled to his dad. See, now this is where I start to go, I don't know if Michael actually killed anybody because they said, so they go in, they tie all these people up, they're holding them all hostage, and they kill the one woman. And Michael was said to have yelled to his dad, someone is loose. And the 2 of them, as soon as he says that, they left the house. As soon as the woman got loose and ran out the door, they didn't chase her. They left, but they only left because Michael was able to tell his dad that someone had escaped. Well, here's the thing. The woman who escaped did not escape from the basement.
Right.
She escaped from the living room.
Yep.
So that means that Michael was not in the basement with his father who was killing Maria. This is what makes me go, I don't actually know how much he had to do with the murders, which is why that's why I took his name out of the title of the serial killer, because I really think he's more of an accomplice than anything. I don't even know if he actually killed anybody. I don't know if he just sat there while his father killed people, which is not good, but you can't classify him as a serial killer if he didn't kill somebody.
Nope.
Or kill 2 or more. Same reason why I don't classify Charles Manson as a serial killer, because he didn't actually kill people. He had people do it for him. Now, end up investigating, obviously, because now they're trying to figure out what the fuck was going on. As they're investigating, they find a woman who was walking her dog, and she said, oh yeah, I saw a man and a boy running. She said the man had taken off his shirt and left it on the ground, and she had actually called the police to tell them this, and the police then are interviewing her. So she brings them over to where this shirt is on the ground.
And it's covered in blood.
It is. It is a bloody shirt. And so the police take the shirt, which also, by the way, at that point, Joseph is the one who killed Maria. Okay, you just know because Michael doesn't have blood on his clothing and, Joseph does. So police take the shirt, which has the blood. It has blood on it. There's also a tie with the shirt. And they take it. And they also, in that same area, they actually are able to cast a footprint that they found in the mud. So remember, we're talking in the 70s here. We're not talking DNA and all that shit. We're talking like...
Yeah, you're not getting people running by on a ring camera.
No. So you're true core, like hardcore police work. And so they see that there is mud and there's footprints in the mud. So they cast it. Now inside the home, they also find that most of the things are still in the home. So they did find that there were just a couple of watches missing, a little bit of jewelry and a little bit of money, but really not that much of anything was missing. They also found tons of fingerprints. They found several rolls of tape. They found a bloody footprint, and they found tape with hair on it. So they were able to, based off of all of the people who were in the house, the 7 people who lived, plus the people in the neighborhood who had seen Michael and Joseph walking around, they were able to get sketches and pretty decent sketches of Joseph and Michael. And there were, again, plenty of witnesses. So they were able to take all of their descriptions and create I would say a pretty accurate description because you're taking everybody's description of them and creating a person out of it. Now, after the murder of Maria, the police are now at this point able to link together the robberies and the rapes of the multiple other women's in homes based on the fact that they have sketches and these other women can come forward and be like, hey, that man broke into my house. He raped me. He had that boy with him. So they're able to now realize there's a string of serial rapes that have happened. The fingerprints. So they're able to dust for these fingerprints. However, no matches. That's the problem with fingerprints unless you've been to jail.
Yeah, unless you have a reason to get fingerprinted.
There's no reason, and it's kind of with DNA today, unless you've been to jail or you donate, I guess, unless you did the genealogy stuff, your DNA is not in the system either. And so that's the problem with fingerprints. They had fingerprints, but there was no fingerprints to match, which also tells me, by the way, that Michael has never been to jail because his fingerprints were not in the system. So they continue to do their investigation. They do take the shirt. They clean up the shirt.
But they have fingerprints and Joseph's been to jail.
But Joseph was never formally charged because his family recanted.
I think it's different now because as
as
soon as you go to jail, you get fingerprinted.
But back then, I don't know if they or maybe they did fingerprint him, but they didn't have it in the system because he never actually was charged with the crime. So therefore, he's not considered a criminal, right? Like, I'm not really sure why his fingerprints didn't pop. Because I thought the same thing, actually, when you said that. I thought the same thing. So I was like, really? Did you guys check all the records? Or maybe it's because it's in the 70s and maybe his records were not in this area because they're in New Jersey and that's not where they live. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know. So they, at this point, they clean up the shirt. They see that there is a label on the shirt. And this label does happen to say Kallinger. Okay. And so they do some good old detective work, like actual detective work. And they're like, okay. So first thing they do is they look in the police records. Are there any Kallingers in the police records? No, there are not. So that's why I'm saying either it's because their record systems weren't linked together or he was never officially charged. And so therefore they don't have him as on record of anything. So they continue. What else could we do with this shirt that we know that there's a name on it? We know it has to be the name of somebody because it's not the name of the company that makes the shirt. And they find out, this specific shirt is only sold in one place. So they go to this place and they're like, hey, do you sell this shirt? And they're like, yeah, of course we sell the shirt. And they say, okay, do you know who bought this shirt? And they're like, no, I can't just tell you about the shirt, but, I can look in our records. And they said, okay, well, we're looking for a Kallinger. And they show him, all right, we're looking for a Kallinger. And he's like, okay, y'all look and I'll let you know. because again, no computers. It's not like a quick search. So while they're waiting for that, they decide, well, if this store is the only store that sells this shirt, this person has to live somewhere around here because it's not like, again, we're 70s. We're not.
Yeah.
It's mail order, if anything, but it's not that kind of a store.
Right.
It's a local store. That means you're living somewhere in the vicinity. So what do? They get the phone book. Okay. They get the phone book and they literally look up Kallinger in the phone book. Well, as they're looking up Kallingers and trying to figure this person out, they receive a phone call from the store. And the store says, hey, you know what? We did find somebody with the last name Kallinger. However, it's not spelled with one L. It's spelled with two L's. But it's pretty similar that has bought this shirt. And so they're kind of like, yeah, okay, give us that guy. Like, give us the name. And so he's like, okay, yeah, it's a Joseph Stallinger. But the police, when they were looking for a Kallinger, and it was Kallinger. So they were like, yeah, okay. So they go figure out who Joseph Stallinger is. And on January 17th, 1975, police arrest both Joseph and Michael. And they are both accused of kidnapping and stealing $20,000 at this point. Because now they know,
Yeah,
remember.
because they have the
Right.
one.
Right. They have the one where they stole $20,000 and they know that they have, because it's kidnapping when you're holding them hostage in their homes. That's kidnapping. So they're charging them with this. Well, not long after being arrested, they also end up charging Joseph with the murder of Maria Fashing as well. They also then bring charges against him for the murder of his son and for the murder of Jose. So they are able to link together those three murders to Joseph. Again, I don't know if Michael, nowhere did I see that Michael got charged with the murders. Like, it never specifically says he got charged with the murders. So I don't even know if he actually got charged with the murders, but Joseph pleads not guilty by reason of insanity. He says that God had told him to kill. So therefore, he is not guilty. And for people who want to go back and forth, if you're not guilty by reason of insanity, you don't walk free. I want this to be very clear. If you are found guilty by reason of insanity, you do not turn around and walk out of the courthouse and be like, I'm free. You go to a mental institute. And a lot of the times you spend the rest of your life in that mental institution until you can be deemed able to stand trial. Or if you never are able to be sane enough to stand trial, you literally just stay there. People have this weird thing where they think that if you get found guilty by reason of insanity, that you don't go to jail. You do go to jail, but you go to a mental, psychiatric. You go
on drugs and just in a comatose state.
And you're not in like a normal. Okay, you're not like in a normal psychiatric facility. You're in a prison psychiatric facility. You're in psychiatric facilities that are specifically for prisoners. So it's like prison, but you're taken, like you said, on drugs, and you're in there with people who have very serious mental health issues. So I needed to make that clear. So he does, that's his claim. However, he is determined to be sane, and he does stand trial. And here I can explain this too. Y'all, this is where my psychology degree comes into play. So a lot of the times, to be guilty by reason of insanity means that at the time of the crime, you didn't know right from wrong. That is not what was happening with him.
Right.
He knew what he was doing was wrong, but he had voices telling him to kill people, but he still knew it was wrong.
Yeah, killing's bad. Hello.
Right. He knew it was not right, and he could actually say that it was not right. So that's where the line gets drawn, is reason of insanity. You have to actually not know that what you were doing was wrong. So therefore, that's why he was considered sane. He may not be a sane person. He may have schizophrenia, just like they said. That doesn't mean that they're discounting it. It just means you still have to be held accountable in the same way as everybody else, because you still knew what you were doing was wrong. You have to be able to not know in the moment that it was wrong. So he is sentenced to life in prison on October 14th, 1976. And it is found also during this time that Michael was determined to be under the control of his father. And he was sentenced to reformatory, which we all fucking know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
And he was actually released from prison, or for his reformatory juvenile detention center, when he was 21. And again, he was 13 when this happened. So he lived in a juvenile detention center for 8 years?
Yep.
Now, when Michael came out, he completely changed his name, moved out of state upon his release, and nobody knows who or where nobody knows who he is. Nobody knows where he lives. And to be honest with you, okay, I'm not going to dig it. I'm not digging up because, like I said, when I read the research, I just don't know if he was actually involved in the murders, which is why I said no hate to the person who created the serial killer encyclopedias that I read because I love them. I think he might have got this one wrong. I would not classify Michael as a serial killer. I would classify Michael as an accomplice. I don't know if he actually murdered anybody. I don't feel that he murdered anybody. If anything, he could have maybe helped his dad with the murder of his brother, but that's about it. I don't think he did anything. I mean, I can tell you right now, I know he didn't kill Maria. That's a fact. You can tell by the evidence. Tells you everything
blood tells
you need to
your
know.
Story.
Right. So and the killing of Jose, that was Joseph's doing. I don't think Michael killed him. I think Michael lured him because he was a younger boy. Joseph Jr., I feel it's the same way. I think Joseph Jr. was going because Michael was going, and I think it was like a family thing. So I just don't see it as that. And to be fair, when they sentenced him, I do think that was a fair sentence. I want to make that clear because he still did make the decision to help his father.
Yeah,
and
he still
was
stole
under
and all that stuff.
Right, and he was under the control of his father, but that doesn't mean you don't get to be punished. You don't have a punishment. It just means you need maybe a lesser punishment. And he did. Again, a reformatory, juvenile detention. Listen, I don't know Michael, but if it's anything like all the other people, he's probably in prison now because the juvenile system literally breeds worse criminals. Because they don't do anything like they're supposed to, especially in the fucking 70s. They were not helping at all. So while Joseph was in prison, he did make several attempts at suicide. And at one point, he ends up getting transferred to a mental institution in Trenton, New Jersey. And on May 18th, 1979, he was transferred again to a psychiatric facility in Philadelphia. So he really, we know he was diagnosed as paranoid schizophrenia. Okay. And I don't have an issue with that. I don't have an issue with him being in psychiatric facilities because they're prison They're not like a normal mental institute where you can walk in and out. It's not that. It's a prison psychiatric facility. That is where he lived. And you know what? Fine. That's okay. It's not fun to be there. So you're still serving a sentence. And on March 26, 1996, Joseph dies in prison of heart failure. What's really crazy about this is Joseph actually never did any time for the murder of Maria because the sentence that he was serving while he died hadn't even touched on her sentence, the sentence he was given, because he was given a specific amount of time for her, and he was given a specific amount of time for like the kidnapping and the stealing. So he never actually, he was in jail, but he never truly paid for the crimes of her, because I think what it said is he had to serve 30 years and then life sentence for her, and he didn't make it 30 years. So that sucks. So that's the story of Joseph Kallinger with his accomplice, Michael Kallinger. That's how I'm going to say it. I do have a few, not very many shots.
Well, let's hear 'em.
So I'm sure you are all wondering why in the fuck he is nicknamed the Shoemaker, since that was literally the first thing that I told him.
The only thing I can think of is the casting of the shoe.
No. Not Michael.
Or that's what his ruse was.
No, actually, Joseph, before he went on to his criminal spree, his serial raping spree, he was a cobbler. And he was a cobbler for many years, and then he decided to stop being a cobbler and turned into a serial killer.
Well, you better sleep with one eye open.
And I giggle at the word cobbler because even Jay will say things like, I had to cobble this shoe. And I'm like, what the fuck, you little cobbler? Like, I don't understand, because I'm like, that sounds so like 1800s, but that's what they do.
Hey, it's still the same thing.
And people do. There are still definitely shoe shops where you bring your shoes in to get fixed, where I'm over here like, I'm just buying a new pair. I don't know why we're fixing shoes, but sometimes the shoes are just so good, you got to get them fixed. And guess what they do with the shoe places? They cobble them back together. Am I right? Is that right?
Yep. And then they take their lunch and eat peach cobbler.
Oh, they probably do. So that is why he's known as the Shoemaker, just because the history behind him was he was a cobbler and he stopped being a cobbler and became a serial killer. really has nothing to do with the murders at all.
No,
Like,
not
I
at
feel
all.
like the Shoemaker would be like he was killing people to take their shoes or
Yeah.
something. Nothing. It was nothing cool like that. So I'm sorry. Sorry for the letdown.
I even went with the shoe print.
Now, 7 days after the murder of Maria, the nurse, right? A woman had claimed that she had been knocked out in her home by a man and a younger teenage boy. Nothing was taken from her home. And she did give a description to the police. She's like, this is what they looked like. However, it is discovered that this bitch was a liar. It was a hoax. She had actually used the public information that they had published about the two to make these false ass claims. Why would you do that?
Wants her 5 minutes of fame.
Like I have had in the crime bitches side of things, I have seen so many times in true crime stories where people will just lie. And it's like, why are you lying? You'll either lie and say you're the person that did it, which never makes sense to me. Or you'll be pretending like you were attacked by these people for what?
Attention.
I don't
It's a mental disorder.
I don't understand. Now, Joseph was on suicide watch for the last 11 years of his life. 11 years. Because he had attempted suicide so many times. So he was not only in a psychiatric facility, but he was in a psychiatric facity on suicide watch.
Under watch, yeah.
Yeah, which is I've never been to a prison. Never been, psychiatric facilities. But what I do know is when you are on suicide watch, you get nothing in your cells or in your rooms. If you're in a psychiatric facility, you get nothing. You barely even get a sheet. I don't even know if you get a sheet, actually. A lot of the times they don't let you have sheets, which is why I know for a damn fact that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself because he would have never been allowed to have those toilet paper sheets that he supposedly killed himself with. If you're on suicide watch, you don't get those things because you can use them to kill yourself, clearly. So tell me for 11 years, that would be pretty fucking torturous, which in my head, I'm like, well, I guess that's deserved. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, final shot is Joseph was actually interviewed at one point by Geraldo Rivera.
Wow, Mr.
Yeah.
Geraldo.
Yeah. And Joseph actually admitted to Geraldo that he wanted to kill people, including Geraldo. He said, I want to kill people plus you.
Ooh.
And Geraldo
He might not be the only one.
Geraldo then tells Joseph, well, I hope you never get out of prison, sir. I mean, to be fair, if somebody told me that, I'd be like, well, I hope your ass stays in prison forever.
Yeah,
jackass, no, right? And Joseph's reply to him was, yeah, I hope I never do either.
Fair.
Probably because he knew he'd kill more people.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the story. That is the story of Joseph Kallinger. And again, his son, I don't really know what his role was, but I had to bring his son into it because his son is part of it. I just don't think he's a serial killer. And I don't think I would label Michael Kallinger as a serial killer. Tell me what you think. I don't know.
No, by the sounds of from what you'd said, I don't think he killed anybody. I think he was an accomplice, just like we said. And I think, being treated the way he was by his father, he probably just went along with it to make his dad happy so he didn't get beat.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a definite truth to that. So this is the part where we tell you that if you like the things that you hear and you are not following us, be sure that you click that plus button and follow us, because what that will do is it will tell you as soon as an episode is posted, which, by the way, is every Thursday at midnight. So then you'll be able to very easily log into your favorite podcast and then click on Little O Less.
Yay.
And it'll just give you the new one instead of trying to search for us, because sometimes searching for us is hard. And if you are following us and you are a longtime follower of us, because I know we got a few of you.
We heart you.
By a few, I mean a lot of you. We do. We heart you. We thank you. We appreciate you. But also, if you think that you know somebody who might actually get a kick out of what we talk about, including things like serial killers,
share us
with them as
and
well.
who knows, maybe the cop we'll live next to listens to our podcast.
Yeah. No, I don't want cops listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
They'll be like, you guys are the worst detectives
But if you're
ever.
a cop and you're listening, thank you.
Thank you. And we appreciate all of you. Every single one of you. Even if you're just here for the first time and you made it all the way through, thank you very much for spending this time with us.
Yeah, and even if we're not your cup of tea and you're not going to listen anymore,
Thanks for giving us a try.
Thanks for giving us a shot.
Exactly. So this is the part where I'm going to tell you one more time. Thank you so much for listening to us tell you the story about Joseph Stallinger, the shoemaker who murdered people that had nothing to do with shoes, and his son Michael Kallinger, who is, I believe, falsely labeled as a serial killer because he was only 13. And I don't think he did anything. Until next week. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Remember to lock your doors and bar your windows. Until next time.